Please join me in welcoming David Goggins to the stage! Okay, guys, I want this to be a special event. So we're gonna do like a fireside chat. We're gonna take some questions from the audience a little bit later as well. So David, let me start with this because we want this to be special. Now let me start with it. Okay, you go. It's not a lot of times where audience, there's a few frequent black people out here, a few sprinkles. Not often where an audience of white people would give me a standing ovation, so I appreciate this. Thank you. Let's do another one.
I don't think it's on. No, that's me.
Oh. Thank you.
I don't want to benefit your part in help.
Aaron. Saying you know, that's it. Like I said, one is too special, so I want to start with one question, right? Tell us a story, tell the audience a story that never told, and we never told before in a keynote or a fireside chat. Damn it. It doesn't exist. It's got to be one story you've never said. It means it's powerful. It means something. Okay? Something that people don't know about me, because it's obviously a secret, is, so if you know about me, you know that I cuss a lot. All right? Because one, that's just, I can't tell a story about my life. I can't without going there because that's how it felt. So that cussing just comes out of me. It's not like, long story short, people, every night I'm on my knees praying to God. Every night, I'm praying to God. And guess the craziest thing is, I go to the bathroom an awful lot because I drink a lot of water. Whenever I get out of bed, I go back to my knees before I get in bed to pray again. We know a lot about Navy SEAL stuff, but we don't know much about the smoke jumper stuff. So we talked about that earlier today. Tell the audience why you're doing that, what's that all about? So basically, smoke jumper is to jump on airplanes, obviously, you fight wildfires. And basically, smoke jumpers are people who go into spots where trucks can't get to. So we go to these, sight unseen, no one's ever been to the land before, we jump in and get those fires out. So why I do it is there's no knowledge at the top. So 5 months out of the year, I go to British Columbia and I smoke jump, because that's where I get all my knowledge. So I'm big into leadership. A lot of leaders, they get to the top and there's no more knowledge. But what happens is, okay, I'm 49. I'll be 49 in February. So I learned how to be a leader when I was 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So I take all that knowledge, and now I'm 49. That knowledge is archaic. People aren't listening to that. Like these 20-year-olds nowadays, 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds, they're not hearing this archaic old man with, just do it. Do what God told you to do it. So I go back into the dungeon, which is pretty much picking up a shovel, picking up a Pulaski, water pumps, all that stuff, and I work with these young kids, because I go back and learn exactly how to lead these young men and women. The only way to do that is to go back where they are, because all the knowledge for me is at the bottom. There's nothing at the top. Can you think you know everything? You think that you're perfect, you think you know everything, and you don't. So that's why I do smoke jump. Right? Woo! Now you're talking about, right, you gotta go with it. And talking about the age of the kids smoke jump. We got 18-year-old kids to 35. What did you learn from this generation? It's a little bit different from our generation. Everything is tone. How you speak to them is tone. They're very shy. Why? Everything's on Instagram. And everything on Instagram is how good you are, how great you are. No one paints the picture of how crappy your day was. So no one paints that picture. Everyone posts, this is my new car, it's my new this, my new that. So when you grow up in that age, you're very shy. You don't want to let people know that, hey, I'm messed up here, I'm messed up here, I'm messed up here. So you got to know how to talk to these younger, like the younger generation. They don't open up. So you have to kind of prove yourself to them, gain their trust. And also it helps out when you're 49 years old and you're smoking their ass in every single event. They kind of gain a lot of respect for you when you beat them in the 50K with a broken knee right out. So it's all these things that, that I do that just to learn more about what's going on with these people. I know there's a lot of people in here read your books and know all about buds. We don't know a lot about your combat experience. We'd love to hear about what you did in combat, what you saw, what your friends did, your guys to your left and to your right. Talk about that. So basically, I was a lead navigator. I was in Iraq, guarding Ibrahim al-Jafari. So lead navigator is basically probably the most trusted guy of the two. So my job was to be the eyes for a whole 16-man platoon and to navigate my way through Iraq. And our guy, Ibrahim al-Jafari, lived in the red zone. So the red zone was obviously bad guys. He didn't want to live in the green zone because he wanted to live amongst his people. And it was during elections, so basically he wanted to go to every single province in Iraq. So it's not like I'm in the front seat and I got my lead driver, I'm lead navigator. It was like Google Maps, and you figure out where you're going. No, it was like a map, and you're trying to see what's going on, and there's no like road signs. So you get me really heads up, I'll read the computer, and all that stuff. So that was my job in Iraq. Let me ask you about this. You talked about tone a little bit. Mm-hmm. Let's get into that a little bit. What kind of tone should you have with different people and why? Well, different people deserve different tones. Like I said, the younger generation, if you start yelling at them, they can really shut you down. I found that out because that's just how I work. I have a lot of tone. You might know with me, all I do is have tone. So it took a lot for me to settle it down. But it just depends, each situation. You have to read the room. People go, well, how do you become a great leader? If you have a big group of people, let's say you have 16 people, each person in that group is going to be led a different way. And the thing about it is you can't lead everybody the same exact way. When you have a team, each person is motivated a certain way. So you have to take your time to learn each individual person and know what makes them click, what makes them tick, what motivates them, what pushes them. It's not one package fits everybody. So that's the biggest thing about me. Some people can handle tone, some people need tone. Some people need less tone. So it depends on your audience and who you are, to what's going on. Now, on the Joe Rogan podcast recently, he talks about exploring the dark matter of your brain. What do you mean by that? How do you do that? Why is that important? So growing up, I was a very scared, insecure, lying kid that I wanted everybody in this room to like me. So I would figure out exactly what the hell you wanted. If you like hunting, I'm a hunter. I'll go hunt with you. I don't know shit about hunting. But I'm a hunter. So I would do whatever I could to make sure that I fit into your nice little pocket, okay? So over a period of time, I realized that the dark matter is exactly where I had to go to get confidence. A lot of us in this world believe that if we have money, we have fame, we have all that stuff, we're gonna gain confidence. Not for me. Maybe for you, but not for me. For me, confidence came from looking in that mirror and I saw what I saw. I told you what I saw. I saw a 300-pound, uneducated, bullied, abused kid that didn't want to share my story with anybody. So, got that quick pararescue because the water was too hard. I lied about that. I said it was because of sickle cell, it wasn't because of sickle cell, because of the water. Long story short, I had to start going into the dark matter to figure out who I was. And the dark matter started literally with a list of things I was afraid of. I was afraid of everything. When your dad beat the hell out of you from the time you came out of the womb to the time you were 9, before we left, you get the courage knocked out. So to find that courage, I had to go and do the very things that I hated doing. And that's exactly what my dark matter was. Dark matter was going into these places that I hated going to figure out more about myself, and that's how I did it. If that's in this room at some point in their lives have asked themselves, now what? What am I going to do? How do I find my purpose again? When you left the military, how did you answer that? And did you answer quickly?
I always had a list of things to do. So there was a time in my life, once I pulled my head on my ass and I was 300 pounds at 24, once I pulled it out, I never put it back in there. So basically, a lot of times in life, I call it perform without purpose. So if you get out of the military or anything like that, you're kind of lost. The military tells you where to go, how to go, what time to get there. All they say, you go down, back, go here, you go there. Roger that. Honey, sweetheart, whatever, I'm out. So you get out of the military and you're kind of lost. So you have no purpose. So what I learned to do is perform without purpose. So what does that mean? It means every day I trained like there was something I was training for. There was no job, there was no race, there was nothing. But I always knew that eventually something would pop up. Eventually something will pop up. So if you continue to train without purpose, when that call does come, when something does pop up and you do find purpose, you're not out of shape, you're not out of the loop, you're dialed in. So therefore, you're always ready for the fight. So that's what I did. I trained without purpose.
You're a role model to a lot of people. And like we talked about earlier, that really wasn't your goal. You said, I'm going to do me, and if I'm a role model, so be it.
Right.
Who was your role model growing up, or role models? Or maybe now.
Well, growing up, there was a guy named Scott Garrett. Scott Garrett was a pararescueman. So when I was about 14 years old, I went to PJOC, Pararescue Jump Orientation Course. It's for Civil Air Patrol. I met a real live pararescueman, Scott Garrett, and his story was this. I was a little black kid amongst like 30 little white boys, right? So I was all like this, always exposed. So I was sitting in the back corner, and I was always trying to stay out of everybody's way, just all shy and shit. And this guy comes out, and his voice is like this. And he's talking. And he's telling this story about he was at 12,500 feet in a helicopter. He had pararescue in the combat control and 2 Navy SEALs. They jumped out of the helicopter, 12,500 feet. He waved off at 4,000 feet. Waving off means if there's somebody above you, that means get the hell out of my airspace, go back to a parachute. He waves off, pulls the parachute, 4,000 feet, parachute opens up nice. There's a combat controller above him, whatever he's doing, not paying attention. He gets in the cannonball, you're going about 120 miles an hour, right? This guy is now not moving that fast, so he's under cannon, fully inflated cannon. If you Google Scott Garrett, you'll see his face. Anyway, combat controller goes through the parachute, bam, knocks him out. He's knocked out cold at about 3,000 feet. Scott Garrett's parachute totally deflates. Now a little cigarette in the air. It hits the ground, bounces twice, and he's dead. Obviously, he's still alive, but get to that point in a second. So, what was amazing was the day before they all went jumping, Scott Garrett being a pararescue, what they are, they're like pretty much paramedics that jump out of planes and save down pilots. They save anybody. But this particular story, the day before they went jumping, Scott got these 2 Navy SEALs who don't know jack crap about anything medical-wise. He teaches them how to open them up, trach them, open them up, and get air away. Okay, they did a little class. So happens these 2 Navy SEALs that do nothing. They had a class the day before, saved this man's life by the training that he gave them the day before. So I'm just sitting there at like 14 years old, it's like, oh my God, this guy's like his face was like this big. Like I said, Google it, you'll see him, Scott Garrett. And I said, that is who I want to be. Because I was a scared little kid. I'm like, this guy is like the best guy alive. So we lived in a $7 a month place. A mile per 3 jobs at school, we were broke as hell. So, how did I find Scott Garrett again? I go through, start calling every Air Force base I can. We had a $500 phone bill. I got destroyed to this. So, find Scott Garrett, and I know him like, hey man, can I come stay? It took 2 weeks. This guy didn't know me from anybody. He saw me going through training, whatever, didn't know me, we didn't talk. He's educated. And that right there became a hero of mine. And the funny thing about it is that now we still stay in touch, and now he is here. So it's a beautiful thing. There you go.
And son, then you go days, you've done some badass shit, right? A little bit. What's the most badass thing you've ever seen?
Seen?
Not yourself.
Well, I watched this man run 188 miles in 24 hours. That's I want to say, can I cuss in here?
Yeah.
A little bit. Oh, I ain't gonna cuss it on it. That's 7-minute miles for 24 hours. I didn't know what to eagle. Giannis Cormos, he has every record in the world. I saw this man running 7-minute miles for 24 hours. Oh, goodness. It was running 1 mile track, or it was running a track in, I forget exactly where it was, man, but just look it up. Guys, it's unbelievable.
What's the hardest thing you've ever done? Something you've done.
I run 300 miles at one time nonstop. That was really difficult. But the hardest thing I ever did was actually a 100-mile race. Real cocky, thought for sure that, I was Navy SEAL, 53 Race Ranger, Orderman at Ranger School, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to raise money for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. So I Googled the 10 hardest races in the world, and what came up was the Badwater 135, race through Death Valley in the summertime. 135 miles, Death Valley. I didn't know it was it, one time. I thought it was a stage race. You run 10, 15 miles, you barbecue, cook out, sweet. I swear to God, man, I know nothing about ultra running. But this one came up number 1. So I called Chris Costa, the race director, up on the phone, like, hey man, we're gonna do this Badwater race. He goes, have you run 100 miles? And I was like, in a couple of weeks, what are you talking about? He goes, no, in 24 hours or less. I said, no, I haven't. So he called my bluff. I was doing cardio 20 minutes every Sunday on a elliptical trainer. I was a big meathead. True damn story, man. So he goes, I come up on a Wednesday. He goes, well, you live in San Diego. I go, yes, sir, I do. He goes, well, there's a 24-hour race on Saturday. And if you can do 100 miles in 24 hours around a 1 mile track, I would consider you my race. This became the hardest thing I ever did in my entire life. I show up to this race unprepared. I had wrist crack and malaplex, blue lawn chair, and I would see my ex-wife every mile. I would get a wrist cracker and drink a malaplex. No water, who needs water? So, like a long story short, I get to mile 70, running a good damn pace. Because I'm well tape, I wasn't working time at all. So I sit down, haven't gone to the bathroom not one time. So the bathroom is from me to that speaker, porta potty. I'm sitting down, she was right there, but I can't stand up. My body is totally shut down. I decided to take a crap on myself, I can't get up. I'm dizzy, peeing blood down my leg. And she's like, oh my God, I have 30 miles to go. And the worst thing that you can hear as a black man is that you turn it white. My wife tells me this, but I had a decision to make, and obviously I made it. And from this race, I got within 101 miles in 19 hours. And this is where I developed the 40% rule. That when you're 40% into something, 60% into something, your mind starts to tell you, if it's real hard, it starts to tell you that you've done it. And that's a self-imposed governor, like a car. Factories put governors on cars so they can't go so fast. Human beings put governors on ourselves so we can't feel pain, so we can't feel suffering. So when things are uncomfortable, we stop. So going through all my training every year in my life, that would be the hardest thing, but I learned so much from that 19 hours.
Nice. Now, it was hard because you weren't prepared for it. How do you prepare yourself now, daily? What can you teach the audience about preparing themselves on the daily?
Well, obviously, preparing yourself has a lot of discipline on that. It takes a lot of sacrifice. You have to be willing to ask yourself, what am I willing to give up? Some of you may not be willing to give up anything. For me, where I came from, I'm willing to give up almost everything to get to where I have to go. Because I know what my dungeon looks like. Some of your dungeons aren't that scary. Mine was very scary. Like that 300-pound man I was twice, that's still in me. The only reason why I was 300 pounds to begin with was because I thought if I could get real big, I could hide the 175-pound man that I am. So I thought, if I could build this humongous shell around me, I can hide out in this body, and I can be very intimidating to people when I really wasn't that tough at all. So my discipline comes from a very different place to most of you guys, but if you don't have it, you're really not going to really achieve anything. So having that discipline every morning, discipline is the only thing that changes your DNA. You want to be somebody different? Be disciplined. It's the only thing that changes your DNA. You can't go to anywhere, you can't go to any dim cell place, but discipline will definitely change who you are as a person, because it changed me to who I am today.
But my favorite stories that I've heard you talk about is the Rocky Balboas. Please tell the audience. I'm sure they've all heard it, but I'd like to hear it again.
You got it. So I killed this thing called taking souls when I was in Illinois. I went through 3 of them, so you gotta find different ways to keep yourself entertained, because it became my home. So I came up with this thing called taking souls from Rocky 1, round 14. And it's my favorite part in any movie, just because of what happens. Because I looked at myself when I was growing up as that dumb guy who couldn't read, kind of touchy talker. I looked at myself as Rocky. So what was so interesting about all this thing is that obviously Rocky fights Apollo. Apollo's the world champ. Rocky's nobody. So when I watched this movie, very few people pick it out. Because I was always looking for these heroes to kind of follow their footsteps. But around 14 years, Rocky's getting knocked down a lot in the whole damn fight. Getting knocked down, getting knocked down, getting knocked down. And around 14, he gets knocked down, and Apollo Creed is exhausted because this team's coming after him. So he knocks down the 14th round, Mickey, his trainer, saying stay down, and Rocky just turns around with his hands, or Apollo turns around with his hands up. He walks back. And what he doesn't know, when he turns around, he sees Rocky getting up. And the look on his face was like someone took his soul. So I took that whole thing and I made it work for me in Hell Week. So for the second Hell Week, I'm there and I know kind of how this works with people. Now the people like Navy SEAL instructors who went through Navy SEAL training are now being instructors. So now they're on the side, outside of the water. We're in the water, freezing our butts off, and they're out there with their parkas on because it's freezing cold in November, or I went through in March. And it's freezing cold. Well, went through March twice, and then, I'm giving on that. So here I am, they're sitting there with their parkas, their coffee, and we're out in the water. And we're freezing. We come out, we're stuck for 3 days. Now it's Wednesday. And they tell you on Wednesday, you become a robot. So everybody on Wednesday starts walking around like this because of the pass down is that you become a robot. So we come out of our med check, and the instructors are making fun of us, they're laughing, they're smoking and joking. And they tell us, okay, grab your boat crew 2, that's off on boat crew 2, grab your boat, pick them over your head. Boat crew 1, I think it's like only 3 boats at a time. And everybody right now is struggling. So I'm like, how can I get my boat crew motivated? So I remember the Rocky scene about how this guy just kept getting up and took Apollo Creed's soul. So I'm like, these guys can barely pick up their boats, not because they can't, because the pass down. The pass down is on Wednesday, you become a robot and you kind of just work off of commands and you don't move very much. I ignored the pass down. So I told boat crew 2, what we're gonna do is we're gonna jack this. I said a whole mess of customer. There wasn't one normal word in the whole damn thing that I said. All they knew was I said, we're gonna take these souls. And they go, what are you talking about? I go, well, everybody right now is struggling to pick this boat up. It's the same damn boat we picked up 2 hours ago, and now we can't pick it up. We're gonna pick it up. Now we're gonna pick it up, we're gonna start chucking it in the air and doing boat presses. And start saying, you can't hurt boat crew 2. You can't hurt boat crew 2. So what happens is the one thing I realized through all of this stuff, now it's my second whole week, I've been going through hard training now for a while. You have to learn to ignite your dopamine. Once you ignite dopamine in your body, you become an atom. So what happened was, once they started getting that energy flowing again,
And they started looking at it, go, now look at the instructor's faces as you're doing this. Because now what happens to them, the instructors are remembering back to when they were in Wednesday FL week, and they felt like crap. So now we look at their face, and their faces have dropped. And I said, I want to make sure that when these instructors go home at night to their wives, they cannot have sex. Because they're thinking about us just kicking their ass. So the Boy Scout press and Thinking Souls came from Rocky 14. What do you mean?
Like that down, Mike. We get injured sometimes. We get depressed. When it occurs to you, how do you get back up?
This is easy for me because I've been injured a lot. I've had a few more surgeries. I just came out of knee surgery 3.5 weeks ago. So I had several knee surgeries, a lot of surgery. So what I do is I'm going to get my second knee surgery. This is in 2020. So I went out to Moab in 2019, and I did this race called Moab 240. I came back for 2020. In between 2019 and 2020, I hurt my knee. Knee got really jacked up, and it was going to take a while to heal. Long story short, my PT was like, look, man, it's going to take you a while to heal. And I heard it in May. And this race is in October. And it would take me at least 6 months before I could get back to running again. So I walk into the PT, physical therapist, and say, hey, man, is it possible that I can do the Moab 240 in October? They're like, no, it's not possible at all. Because it's May. You look at that, May, June, July, August, September. No, you would just be running by then. I go, okay, but let's just say that that's the goal. Let's just say, just working, okay? She said, whatever. So what I'm trying to get to is I end up doing that race. I did that race, I got second place, I did it in 61 hours of change. Ran 245 miles. The whole point is this, how do I stay motivated? I set these lofty-ass goals that I may not achieve. But when you set the lofty-ass goals, what happens is you have a whole bunch of small goals in between there before you get to this lofty. So even if I didn't get to Moab 240 in October, I still was 5 months ahead of schedule. I still had completed, I was already running in my third month. There's so many things that I accomplished because I set a lofty goal that I may not accomplish, I may not get to. So that's what I always do when there's ever a step back in my life, is I make sure to set something that's so far out to the reach that you're going to hit a lot of these micro goals along the way. So that's what I do.
Some of the, go ahead. Some of our beautiful women friends in the audience wanted me to ask you, are you dating anyone right now?
I have a lady in my life, Jennifer Kish, that's been in my life for 8 years. That's one thing that supported me. I messed up a couple times in marriages, so I'm not married right now. But this is what I did find out. I am a serious person about being unbalanced. I'm just unbalanced as hell. Like it or not, that is who David Goggins is. What David Goggins tried to do through his whole life was morph into who I was with. And like silly putty, hopefully conform to what they wanted me to be, but this David Goggins character, that is who I really am, was pissed off all the time. So I wasn't finding the right people to be with because I had to change, they had to change, the ship wasn't living. So a long story short, around 30-something years old, I said, I'm not changed anymore. This is exactly who I am. So what I was messing up with was I was not meeting the person that just like David crazy-ass Goggins for who he was. So now I found the right person, Jennifer Kish, that just likes me because I'm just this guy. So now it works out really well. So there you go.
There you go. You talked earlier about not being a believer in balance. How do you live your life? How do you do it? How do you align everything you want to accomplish?
Well, nothing's really aligned, right? Because there's no balance. So in my life, I front loaded. So, like I said, I don't care about the money, the houses, the cars, or anything like that, because I found something a long time ago that I wanted to do in my life. I wanted to achieve greatness for myself. However that looked for myself, I found it, I pinpointed it, and now all I'm doing now is just achieving that. So to be imbalanced, like I said, it takes a very special person. But what I realized, if you want to be great at anything, a lot of you are saying, God, this is ridiculous. Call it what you want. If you want to be great at anything, you have got to become unbalanced. Because when you have that balance, a lot of energy is going into several different places. For me, I was a real smart kid. I had ADD, I wasn't real focused. So everything I do has to be focused on that certain task. And that's how it works for me. So, or way it works.
Awesome. We're going to take a couple questions from the audience. Maybe we'll have 4 questions. We got Mike going around.
You only have them, there's only 4 questions?
How many do I have?
As many as are out here.
Oh.
There to the left, sir.
Okay, we got one over there. Stand up and just shout. Let's hear what you sound like to say. What's your name, sir? Ryan Hyman. Go ahead.
You strive to be happy, or does happiness not matter?
So what about this doesn't say I'm happy?
Let's talk.
But you're asking the question about happiness, so I need to explore this a little bit more.
Does a feeling of saying I'm happy
At all. Happiness doesn't matter to me. I'm happy every day because I was a 300-pound piece of shit that life kicked his ass, and every day I wake up, I'm the human being that's in front of you now. So a lot of people see happiness. A lot of people ask me questions about happiness. I know that's not your main question, but I love answering that question because happiness comes in different packages. My happiness comes from every day I wake up, that reflection in that accountability mirror that I have, it looks really damn good now. Not because of how I look externally, how I feel internally. And that right there, every day, I'm not searching for happiness, I'm searching for peace.
Is that?
Dick. Let's go. Go ahead. End up.
David, everyone says, or looks up to you for taking souls, but has anyone taken your soul before?
What do you think?
What's not to take yours? Yes.
Several times, man. I got my soul taken from the time I was born until the time I was 24 years old. It happens spaced out now, but for 24 years, I was the weakest human being God ever created, and everybody took my soul. I had no backbone, I had nothing. Every day I woke up, I was trying to search for another foothold, another handle, and trying to climb this mountain. And I always fell down to the bottom. So my soul was taken for 24 years. So, yeah.
Thank you. See one right there. Got your hand up first. Go ahead.
Who wants to get up? Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, David. I'm one of the blind people you talk.
Yeah, I kind of saw that. You kind of wanted us to talk about the sprinklers.
I'm curious to know what your relationship is like with your parents now.
Well, my dad is dead. My dad beat the living shit out of me. He beat me so bad that there was a time when I was 6 years old, he beat me so bad that my mom had to lie. You know, we had opinions, you put shorts on, a t-shirt, whatever. That she had to lie around a nose saying that you got to excuse him from school because he's sick. Because she woke up one day and pulled my covers off me. I was just black and do all. He'd be with the belt buckle. And this was like every now, this is like all the time. So I didn't speak to the man, never gave me left. I was forced to go see him until I was 12. He died in 2013, I believe it was. So I never talked to him again. My mom, me and her have a good relationship. She wasn't around a lot. She worked 3 jobs, trying to support me and whatnot. But we have a good relationship. Because there's a lot there, always a lot there, because you always feel someone could have done more, but you got to get over that shit and move on. So, but my relationship is good enough. Good enough.
We got one over here.
What's up? I get you, man. Go ahead, bro.
What
What's your name, Luke?
Luke, I'm Luke Sevener, CEO of Cruisin. What systems do you have in place to keep yourself from getting distracted with all the things come at you? And like, do you have a system in place when you get yourself doing something that would disappoint you where you want to?
Yeah, so basically I have left and right limits. I call it my foxhole. If you allow people in your fighting position that can't fight, you're always gonna get lost. If you have the wrong partner in your life, the wrong friends in your life, anything in your life that's wrong, they will definitely take you away. If you have people like you don't understand who you are and what your goals are, you will get distracted. So for me, my foxhole sometimes is a one-man fighting position because no one understands me, and I'll go fight alone. That's what keeps me from being distracted. Usually it's the outside noise, the chirping, that gets in there. So if you have the right people in your foxhole, the chirping is always like, hey man, I want to be a doctor. And let's say you don't want to go to school that day. The right people in the foxhole will say, get involved in college school. The wrong people say, oh, it's okay, Rick. Joe, you don't need to, you don't need to study biology. It's okay. And what happens is that starts to feel real good and comfortable. So I stay in my lane and be with the people in my circle, and that keeps me always on track. All right, I guess the second man. Go ahead, F.
Nice and chill. What did you cry friend of a father with 2-year-old little boy?
Yep.
What advice you have to be racist? And what advice you have for him comes up in this world?
That's tough, man. My daughter didn't speak to me. So I'm not gonna lie about that. When I was young, I picked the wrong woman to be with. And then when you separate, that relationship becomes very horrible. But that said, I'm very open about my life. Don't give a fuck what people think about it. His wife. That said, you got a son?
Yeah.
You gotta teach them how to be a man. And that's hard nowadays because everybody is tough to be that. And what that means is you stand for your principles. You stand for what you believe in. You don't do what I did growing up and try to fit in the crowds that you don't even need to be a part of. You speak your mind. You speak your heart. You do the hard things. You always do the hard things. If something there that you don't want to do, you do it. If the grass needs to be cut, you cut it. If you see something out of place, you fix it. The second you do it, you see it, you do it, you fix it. As a man, one thing that people won't agree with me on, you're not always supposed to be happy. You gotta provide. You gotta protect. You gotta work. You got shit to do. And that's the hardest thing about what I believe a man is supposed to represent in this world, which is why men should be tired. Men should be aggravated. Men should be pissed off. Because men have a lot of work to do. And a lot of men nowadays want to find this spot where everything is nice and balanced and happy. No, you gotta be X, Y, and Z. You gotta make sure this stuff, this stuff, this stuff, this stuff. You gotta be, I'm an old school dude. So that's how I believe things should be done. So teaching the young man that is probably it's probably the hardest lesson in the world, to have that kind of discipline so that when times get hard for your son, he knows how to get out of that situation by discipline, by hard work, by having the confidence to look in the mirror and I see the 300-pound fat man looking back at him because he didn't know how to handle situations. Because no one taught him. No one taught him how to be hard and be tough and handle situations. So that's just my take on it. It's probably the wrong take, but it's the take I have. One more question. Woo! Right, very good. I gotta get up on 2 if you don't mind. I gotta get two more. All right.
It's so clear that you're so focused on the intensity that needs to be done in that moment. Yep. It's incredibly impressive. How much do you think about the future, and what do you think about it for yourself, and then what do you think about it for all of us in society?
So it's getting weird how to answer this question. I don't think about the future, but I plan for the future because I retired my mom. That was my only goal I wanted to have when I was growing up. I saw her struggle so I get beat. So I wouldn't retire from I retired my mom. So that goal was done. So when I became a Navy SEAL, the reason why I quit pararescue training is because I thought about the future. I thought about the what ifs. I thought about, man, I'm not good at swimming. I'm not good. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, when I sign up for something, I don't care about tomorrow. How I got through Navy SEAL training, man, how are you so tough? How are you taping up your feet, taping up your legs, have broken bones? How'd you do all that stuff? Because when I went there, finally to understand I have to get through it. How am I to get through it? I'm a black kid who can't swim. I'm scared in water. All this shit. How am I gonna get through here? Well, you have to learn to maximize minimum potential. And what that means is I was a kid, barely learned how to read right when I was a junior in high school. So many things were going against me, but I knew that most of the talented people in this world, they only use a fraction of their brain because they're so talented. Shit comes easy. So how I even the playing field was if I can maximize minimal potential, which is put every bit of knowledge I have into everything I'm about to do, that will make me great. So to do that, you can't think about tomorrow. I put everything on where I'm at that second, because it takes all my energy to do that. So I'm always there, and whatever that takes, that's what it takes. So I don't think about future. I don't do any of that. I'm like, I'm here now, and tomorrow I'll be here. And like once I retire my mom, that's out through my mindset.
So I've heard you say you are a self-proclaimed introvert.
Self-proclaimed?
You told Joe Rogan you took an hour in the car to just pump up to even come and talk to him for you, and you wanted to run away the whole time.
And I had to do that to come in here too.
And you've impacted so many people. I recently interviewed Robert Hamilton Owens,
Oh, no.
who's done amazing things at 66 and at 71 years old.
Right.
He dedicated this book to you.
Oh, respect.
I mean, you are a hero to him.
Appreciate that.
And to many people, and you do this for yourself, but you also have this following, these people that look up to you. And
Right.
as an introvert and as someone who, that's not why you're doing it. You're not doing it for the fame. How do you handle that? How do you manage that?
It's awkward to me because I was talking to them in the plane. I'm here. It's very hard to answer that question. Like, I'm not doing it for people. And because until I became David Goggins, I was just a nigger. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was. I was the kid in the back of the classroom. They spray painted nigger on my car. Nigger, we're going to kill you. So while that's not now, I know that most people are pretty evil people. Until you can do something for them, you ain't nobody. That's just the God's honest truth. So, if what I do happens to spring off on people, I'm happy about that. But the bottom line is, people always say, oh, he's going to be a sculptor, going to be famous, to get more clout. Let's think about this real quick. I was a fat kid at 24 years old with no Instagram. Okay? No Instagram. No cell, no nothing. Sat in this house by himself and wanted to become a Navy SEAL. I didn't sit back one day at 22, 23 and say, man, if I do it, this will make me famous. When I was there, I went to Ranger School. There was no nothing. No. I was a Cub Scout. I was a Boy Scout. I was a Rebellion. I was in the CAP. I was an ROTC. I was in the Air Force. I was in the Navy. I went to Ranger School, and I'm a damn smoke jumper. So what I do is because this is who I am. And a lot of people need to hear that you can become exactly who you want to become, even if you were the person that graduated last in their class. So I'm honored that people respect that, respect the journey to help people out. But at the end of the day, it's your journey to do, and if I can help you out, I'm happy to do that. But that's about that.
There you go. If you're the big Goggins, John.